first time the Bengals are in the game. Obviously, we've said it a million times since you had them there back at Super Bowl 23. You know, Gina was talking to me about the game last night. She goes, man, you know, it's really, I'm having a tough time.
I can imagine.
As a Steelers fan getting into this Bengals thing. And I said, you have to. You got to drop that. I said, I work with Boomer every single day. I mean, Sabrina knows Boomer as Uncle Boomer or Boomer Claus, and it's her birthday, by the way, today. She is 4 years old, Sabrina.
Happy birthday.
Yes.
I know it's her birthday.
So yes, I know, and it's a very large gift showed up on the doorstep yesterday that was quite close to 100 pounds. So we thank you for that, and then when I build it, I will send you a picture of it, although it may take me a week.
So my whole goal in all of this is certainly to make her happy, but to make you miserable.
It's exactly
and then the idea is that you're going to have to either add an addition on for all of her stuff or whatever. But I kind of laugh because, you know, of course I went through this, you know, 29 years ago.
Yeah, right, exactly.
So you're
this is a full-blown replica doctor's table.
We're gonna make her into a doctor.
I know it. I mean, like it's big enough for like an adult man to lay on for her. For her to do a checkup.
Guess who her first subject's going to be?
The first in every subject. I'm going to be laying there all day long as she checks my blood pressure. But anyway, so I said, you gotta forget it, but you got to drop the Steelers stuff for a little bit. And you got to get in on this. She goes, all right, I understand. So we are all in. It is exciting. It adds a little more juice to the game.
It's great. And you know, she can hate Joe Burrow after this.
Right.
When they start going toe-to-toe.
Sure.
And, you know, the Steelers are in that quarterback quandary where they can't find one. You know, we've had to deal with Ben Roethlisberger all these freaking years. I mean, 18 years of just every year winning. And, you know, the Bengals always played the Steelers tough, regardless of who was playing quarterback. That was even back in the day when Terry Bradshaw and the boys were there.
Yeah.
The Bengals always played the Terry Bradshaw and the Steelers tough. So, you know, it's those division matchups and all that other stuff. But it's just nice to know that there's a game-changing player, a number of players for that matter, in Cincinnati, and it all starts with the quarterback. I don't care what anybody says. And he's been great, and every game he's played, every big game he has played in his life, he's played really well in, and I would expect the same thing here.
Jackpot Joey. I'll be putting on that sweatshirt tomorrow for our big Super Bowl 56 football Friday. Today is trade deadline Thursday, though, as we await to find out what's going to happen with these local teams. I cannot get a true read on what's happening with James Harden because, you know, you hear absolutely nothing from the two preeminent writers that cover the NBA and break news and Shams and Woj, but yet Brian Windhorst, who's covered the NBA for a very long time, has been beating this drum like this is going to happen, and even said that James Harden, he goes, his quote was, I cannot tell you how much James Harden wants out of Brooklyn.
That's unbelievable.
And he's going to do whatever it takes to get him out of there, like, you know, a year removed from doing the same thing in Houston. So
if that's true,
yeah,
and I think if you look at his body language and the fact that, you know, he's got this hamstring issue that's popping up.
Yeah,
I mean, it
makes
just,
you think.
You know what? It really does. Again, it dents who he is as a player. You know, I think we all appreciate who he was as a player in Houston. We all knew that, you know, it was going to be uphill. He was going to have to do all the heavy lifting for the Rockets, and they tried with Chris Paul, and it didn't work. I mean, so there's a common thread here. The common thread is him.
Yep, of course.
And I'm just like, man, you got the hell out of Houston. The Nets paid a ransom for you. They're paying you an ungodly some amount of money to play basketball. And you're not playing, and you're now all of a sudden unhappy. I mean, if this does go down, and maybe Sean Marks can fix this and get it right, but man, from the moment that they signed Kevin Durant and Kyrie Irving to now adding James Harden, this has been like the biggest disaster for Sean Marks because he's the one that put this team together. You remember he had this team kind of like on the upswing?
Sure, of course, yeah.
And then he felt like he had to go out and get Kevin Durant, so they paid him for not playing for a year. And then the Kyrie Irving saga stuff, every which way you turn, there's something else you're dealing with. And then they bring in James Harden, who maybe to his credit is saying, you know what, this place is dysfunctional.
Well, not just bring in James Harden. I mean, they traded away. I mean, you remember the reaction from the Nets fans around here, Evan and Jerry, about how everything they gave up, and Jared Allen, of course, and Karis LeVert, and how they just giving up that core of players was just very, very tough to take for them, and then all the draft picks. So that's why he cannot, if you are the Brooklyn Nets, he cannot leave in free agency, because that would be one of the biggest disasters of all time.
And that's why this is serious. And this is why Sean Marks has got to basically say, wait a minute, I better make sure I got my ass covered here. But then again, it could be a sign and trade in the offseason, and they'll receive assets back and things of that nature. But I'm like, if you have a chance, well, I can't even believe I'm saying that. I can't even believe we're talking about this. It is so bizarre. Like this, the 3-year run, and I said this yesterday, and I'm going to say it until this run is finally over.
Sure.
But the run of these 3 players here in Brooklyn, and the disaster that it has turned out to be. And on top of that, don't forget, they added Steve Nash as their head coach.
Sure.
And I feel bad for that guy, because when he was a player, he probably played the game the way that Kevin Durant plays it. Like he always wanted to play, and it was injuries that ended up getting him towards the end of his career. But he always wanted to play. He always wanted to be out there. You got guys sitting on the bench with hamstrings, and I got this, and I'm not getting the vaccine, and I need a mental break. In the
Kyrie even
season.
last year before the vaccine.
Yeah, you're paying me $35 million. You're giving me $43 million. I mean, God, it's like enough already.
Yeah, I mean, it is really the worst of today's NBA sort of came to roost in Brooklyn as it stands right now. Now, it doesn't mean that there still could be a positive ending to this. I don't necessarily see that as we sit here today, but there still could be a positive ending if Kevin Durant comes back healthy. Maybe Kyrie Irving is playing in more games than we thought that he would, and then James Harden stays and says, hell, let me give this one shot to try to win a championship with these guys.
No, well, here's the thing. I really do wonder if James Harden believes that Kevin Durant's coming back.
Huh. Well, that's something
I got to throw that in the mix, too, because I don't know the extent of Kevin Durant's injury. None of us do. Only he does and the team does. And I'm wondering if James Harden is kind of seeing the writing on the wall that Kevin Durant's not coming back and wants to get out of here because of that. That could be the case, because you know what? He probably, and again, you read these things about how he hates playing with Kyrie Irving.
Yeah, he also hates the fact that he's a part-time player. And when the two of them play together, it is not pretty either. Now, as a full card-carrying president of the Nets hater club, I want to see Ben Simmons come here. I want to see that circus move into town. One circus for another circus, and all that brings. And Rich Paul and the whole Ben Simmons saga now. I will trade the James Harden saga for the Ben Simmons saga. I think that would be absolutely awesome. Now, there are some rumored players in that deal other than Ben Simmons, Maxey, Seth Curry. That would help the Nets. I really do believe that. But, I mean, Ben Simmons hasn't played the entire year. The last time we saw him, he was scared to shoot. And now he's going to come in here and insert himself into this situation?
I don't know. I would think that
Wow.
Sean Marks would be saying, okay, where are we mentally at with Ben Simmons right now? Does he want to play? Is he going to come here and try to play? Is everything going to be okay with him? Does he have to worry about his whole, mental anguish about being called out by his coach? Oh my God, this is like.
Well, what it has seemed like from the beginning with Ben Simmons is that he wants to play, just not for Doc Rivers and not for the Philadelphia 76ers.
I mean, these guys are unbelievable.
Yeah, I know, and it's just the Nets are just right in the middle of all of it.
Sean Marks got to be going, what the?
Well, I mean, he went for it, and I mean, this outcome was a possibility for sure, but I mean, it's almost like you can't have too many nice things when it comes to the NBA. You can't take too many shortcuts.
But I think he got it right with Kevin Durant. There's no question about that.
Yeah.
But Kyrie is just so unstable, and this now all of a sudden, it's obvious that James Harden doesn't want to be here. Everything you read about, and meanwhile, are our guys with the Knicks? What are they doing? They sitting by the hardline phones or something? What are the phones even ringing?
All right, waiting by the fax machine.
Yeah, calling up Sarah, the operator. Sarah, get me Give me Sacramento. Maybe.
There is
what are they doing? What are they doing?
Nothing that they're going. I will. I mean, this is not going out on any sort of limb, but there's going to be nothing that they do today that's going to excite us. Now they might shed themselves of some things. Maybe Kemba Walker, maybe Evan Fournier. But they're not going to bring anybody in that's going to excite you. They might trade Alec Burks. I mean, something like that. But, they're going to have to gear up for the offseason. I'd love for them to be able to figure out the Julius Randle thing right now. I thought that was going to be an offseason thing. It needs to be a now thing. But what team's going to want to bring on that headache and that contract? So, yeah, I mean, they're just...
I'll tell you what, Leon Rose has been a bust.
Yeah, it was so far.
He has been an absolute bust.
I don't know.
Whoever they put in that seat just seems like,
And it looks like they had something last year.
A lot of money. Let me sit around. Let me get on these private jets, fly all over the place, and do nothing.
Yeah, I really thought they were on to something last year. We all did. But this thing is just
COVID-shortened season.
Completely collapsed.
It was completely different. No fans half the year.
And they went out and they signed two complete. You want to talk about busts?
Well, that's what I'm
Fournier
saying.
and Kemba Walker totally blew it. Totally blew it with those two guys. Just awful. And then they're making trades that the coach doesn't want, and the coach is now passive-aggressively benching that guy. It's just, it makes you not want to watch them. It really does. It's so discouraging. But if they're going to get back on that road to relevancy, because right now they just aren't. It's going to have to start with this trade deadline.
Speaking of trying to get onto the road of relevancy.
Yeah.
So I did watch a little bit of this last night. So the Islanders played in Vancouver last night.
Yeah.
And in the pregame interview, my son-in-law almost gets run over by the Zamboni.
I know, very dangerous. What is that Zamboni driver thinking?
Yeah, but what is Matt thinking?
Get out of the way.
The guy's been in he's been in a rink his entire life. Everybody knows when the Zamboni's on the ice.
I'm telling you right now, that is, first of all, the Zamboni was coming out of the tunnel or whatever where they keep it and onto the ice. And Matt was standing wherever they told him to give him a headset. That's not on him.
Yeah.
That Zamboni driver was flying at a very unsafe speed.
What do you mean?
And should have waited until Matt got out of the way. That's totally on the Zamboni driver.
Matt had a goal last night. I went off his shins or something.
I'm telling you, I was totally on this. I'm glad he's okay. My God. That Zamboni was moving, too.
Yeah, and then they asked him, who do you got in the Super Bowl? And then all of a sudden,
Yeah, of course.
my father-in-law, Cincinnati Bengals, sucking up and everything.
As he should. As he should.
Thank you for watching. Please like, comment, and subscribe. And don't forget to hit the red bell so you're notified when we have new content.